my pleasure to introduce Cameron Cherry. He is the Chief Technology Officer for Dell Federal. I actually feel like I met you, on your third day, so I feel like you are a veteran now. In his role, Cameron is responsible for developing and executing strategy, corporate development, leadership, and driving innovation for Dell's service delivery model for the U.S. Department of Defense and the intelligence community markets domestically and internationally. So please help me in welcoming Cameron Cherry.
Thanks, Tyler. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be part of the distinguished guests we've had this morning. And I have to tell you, as a career technologist, I am beyond pumped hearing the congressman talk about FITARA. We cannot ignore any longer that we're living in a digital age. But before I get into this, I think it's important that you understand the person that's standing before you to offer you credibility. Hey, Noah, how you doing? It's good to see you. I've spent my career in IT. I'm one of the few people on the planet that can actually say I helped build the world's first cloud computing company over 20 years ago. And cloud computing looked very different then than what it does now. I helped build the second cloud computing company in the physical eastern seaboard of the internet. I did not get to meet Al Gore, and I didn't invent it. But I did get the pleasure of building it out. After 9/11, as most of us that have decided to really serve our government customers, I decided to get into the federal market space where we could take all this technological advantage and drive it into the mission space. Right, so even if you're in the federal civil government, you have a mission, whether you're civil, in the Department of Defense, or in the intelligence community. So I'm looking forward to questions, and I'm extremely excited to be here. I represent a strategic investment that Dell is making into serving our government customers. You all met my boss today, Steve Harris. I have to remain objective. So that means I am a strategic resource to you. I grew up in operations, and if I have to recommend anything non-Dell, I'm going to do it because it's what serves you and it's what serves your mission. So I'm always going to be strategic and objective in this. I voted with my feet recently, and I left the systems integration community after a great opportunity and a great job serving the intelligence community. And I really thought that was going to be my career. After seeing the innovation and some of the things that I'm very excited to share with you today on how we can help you in this FITARA path forward in very practical, very simple terms that are rooted in operational excellence. So we all know this gentleman. Had the pleasure to meet him at the White House several weeks ago, and I was extremely excited because he actually made some Star Trek jokes. So for all the techies in the room, that was really fun. And I'm hoping to be there the day when he can go to President Obama with his last name and say, "I'm giving it all she's got, Captain," if you all know the Star Trek reference, right? So we talk a lot about the 80-20. What I really want to show you today is just a very practical path forward that really talks to the heart of what FITARA is really driving. And for me, that's about protecting the infrastructure. It is all about cybersecurity. So in today's world, we talk a lot with our government constituents, and yes, there are a lot of legacy systems. We have to understand that we're at a precipice, and we have an imperative to modernize the digital side of the government infrastructure. And it's no longer an option. We really have to take a look at that for the exact points of what FITARA drives to. If all of us, you all hear Tony Scott talk a lot publicly. He's got 3 primary objectives for the policies, and you can see 2 of them are really driving cybersecurity. We have to build new cyber talent. Absolutely. I think all of us need to become more cyber aware. I've been a victim of fraud myself 4 times, and I've had to clean that up. And I got to tell you, the violation personally is unbelievable to have to deal with. And I live in that cyber world all the time. The security piece of it with built in by design is what I'm real excited to really talk to you about today. But modernizing technology does not have to be the tumultuous effort that we all see. Our kids are living it today. They started as digital natives, and we need to start thinking in that capacity as well. But at the end of the day, we can't forget that all of the government leaders in this room today and the government CIOs, there are always competing priorities that put pressure on delivery of operations, and FITARA enters a new paradigm. You have to continue to keep lights on. There are mission priorities in the civil government, whether you're USDA and you have to go out and go to farms and do soil testings or samples, the IRS, Social Security, you're doing things in a deployed state. There's all kinds of priorities that increase the pressure of this, but there is a very simple path forward. One thing you're going to hear a lot about in 2016 out of Dell is to really start to reset the context for cloud computing. Cloud computing has gone on in the discussion forums very, very vividly and very passionately, but we always talk about one model. Everyone knows this model, and it's driven by two companies, Amazon and AWS and Azure, Microsoft. And we always talk about public cloud computing. For all the agencies that understand that you do have critical workloads and you need private clouds, but not grow your data center footprint, go into a partner ecosystem, there is a better way for us to be able to help you address that so you can get the agility and the mission that you require. We're rethinking the paradigm. Now, what's interesting, the reason why I went through a little bit of my bio is it's rooted in operations. And operations really implies experience. So we, as Dell, are not going to take you anywhere that we have not charted ourselves before. In our modernization efforts, we understood that there's a new paradigm of IT out there. The pervasiveness of ultra-mobile with smartphones and tablets and disconnected users is becoming more the reality rather than the exception. So we're at this paradigm now where we have to blend traditional IT with the delivery of new IT. Inside of Dell, we started our modernization effort several years ago, and it was pretty impressive. We wrung out almost $500 million in the delivery of our IT operations. And if any of you know our mantra that the company has been founded on is we want to be the best product at the best price. So wringing that type of money out is significant. So through these lessons learned, we recognize that this has to be a compute-centric infrastructure. Everything today requires apps. I have an app, Google Maps, right, to get to work, get home from work if I don't know where I'm going, get to a favorite restaurant. But everything requires compute-centric that is agile. To create agility, though, one thing the congressman's speeches, although I found them very inspirational, didn't address is openness. Most of our legacy systems and the challenges we're facing and the lessons we're going to learn from that era is proprietary is not the future. Now, when I say open systems, I mean interoperable, standards-based, compatible with your existing systems today, but offer you a path forward for the future-ready enterprise that you're building for tomorrow. Because we know that this acceleration cycle isn't slowing down. It's only getting faster. How many people have kids, grandkids? My daughter's 11, and she actually reprogrammed my smart home. I came home from work one day and found that the air conditioner temperature is now tailored to when we come home from work and when we go to bed, and the refrigerator is now plugged in because of the sensor that's now plugged in the refrigerator, and she's telling my wife when to go get milk. So it really is incredible. This acceleration curve is only getting faster. And if we build that on the proprietary technologies of yesterday, we're not going to be ready for tomorrow. The great thing about the strategy and why I ended up at Dell vice any other company was this is built into the heritage of the company. Michael has said since day one, if we can't serve our customer in an open manner and compete on the value of what we offer, we shouldn't be in business. So open standards is something that is vitally important as we move forward. The next thing is creating simple blueprints. The other key message that Tony Scott has talked about is look for common systems, common ground. IT is a lot like politics. It works only when it's local. And in politics, you're always looking for common ground. That's how you come to quorum agreement. So what do? You have to look at thought leadership. We've invested significant amount of money that takes the lessons learned that we have learned over the course of these years, working with you as customers and as partners. We've created blueprints that offer you a strategy. So now when you're kicking off programs or specific projects for modernization, and let's say you want to build a unified communication solution that lets you interoperate across agencies, rather than sitting down with the white paper syndrome, you can call us, because the blueprints are available to you as our customers, and say, what are your thoughts? What can we do? What's a blueprint? What's a best practice that's been galvanized and tested that works? We also have reference architectures that are available to you as customers as well. And the reference architectures are great because then it says, okay, this is what I'm going to do. How am I going to do that? What's that look like? Because we all know in good project planning, all the upfront work gives me what I need for budgeting. How am I going to do this? How am I going to resource this in a very practical term, because I still have those 50 priorities I have to deal with as a CIO. The last thing is engineered solutions. So engineered solutions are great. So I told you in 2016, I'm going to begin to put a big frame around public cloud computing, because there are unique mission requirements, and we cannot forget that will require more critical workloads to be run still in the privacy of your infrastructure. How nice would it be to get the same leveraged advantage from the business model, because that's really what we're talking about with cloud computing, but it's happening behind your firewall. So the engineered solution is something that we built. We build with the partner ecosystem in conjunction with our customers, and we can simply drop them into the data center space that we all reclaim, that you've heard the congressman talk about, or in the partner ecosystems for FedRAMP certified data centers. These are jumpstart capabilities because we want to shift the conversation from should we modernize to what are we going to modernize next. This is how mission agility is created. It is stopping the conversation and start moving into the action phase. And what we want to do for you is accelerate the time to mission value. If any of you had the luxury or opportunity to hear the event that occurred several weeks ago, Steve Cooper, who's been around as a CIO for a very long time in the civil service arena, I really love this metric because it's something that we value and we've believed a long time. In the commercial or private sectors, we have a metric we use, which is return on investment, right? That's what justifies our business cases because we're profit driven, as you would expect. But in the government, that really doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because when we talk savings, it's very hard for financial people to understand how to calculate ROI with savings. But time to mission value, time to create agility, time to do things, we had a question earlier, in the calendar year of the program. Those are valuable for the missions you serve in service to the American people. Here are some great examples of blueprints that are very common systems. Tony Scott always talks about where is the commonality, where's the common ground that as agencies we could use to interoperate better, cross-collaborate better, and information sharing becomes secure. A lot of them start with common systems that, although are mission critical to a point, things like email, unified communications, but more importantly, the data analytics. So we're all responsible for report cards now, right? And I read the report cards and my heart goes out to every single civil service that works in IT to have to report those. So what do we have to do? We have to give you better tools, better insight, and better solutions so that those grades come up through just straight hard work, but getting the job done. So these are great examples if you want cloud on a private side, you want a hybrid cloud that you can share amongst agencies, or if you want a cloud for missions that are more sensitive, right? There's a lot of law enforcement and civil, Secret Service, right? DHS doing some great work. But these are now clouds that you can use in very unique ways that aren't constrained by what public cloud service providers offer today. We have a continuum from a maturity model. So from the report card, if you're like me, I wasn't a great student in school because I wasn't book smart. I applied a lot. So I tinkered. I was the tinkerer. I was the guy that took everything apart and put it all back together. But I found in improving my grades, I had to have a roadmap. I had to have a strategy and I had to have a plan. This is our plan. So it starts very simply moving left to right, that we have workload ready environments that we can bring into your enterprise. If you're already virtualizing, we could bring you in bigger building blocks that now become virtualization ready. When you're ready to move into software defined, the building blocks that are there create the platform for you to move to software defined, creating your agility. And then ultimately now you get to move across this continuum, as you see, to an information-driven enterprise that's now focused on directing to the mission task and the mission outcome, but is always worrying about the technology. I got 4 minutes left, so I got to get through this quick, but this is the part where there's the secret sauce. So now if you want to buy these things, we all know that capital expenditures are far few and in between today. So wouldn't it be nice if there was a company that could bring you an as-a-service buying model for all the traditional and new IT assets that you need in your enterprise? Dell has launched with Dell Financial Services an ability for you, in essence, to basically buy IT as a service, a true service, a true outcome. If you want a desktop as a service, there would be a monthly recurring fee by user. If you want infrastructure as a service, you can get it in the per VM price that you can get from cloud computing companies. This is about making an investment strategically in you and your missions for the future of where your agencies and organizations are heading. So in the end, what you get now is a very streamlined enterprise, a smaller attack surface. Again, Congressman Herb was so inspirational hearing someone come out of not only the intelligence side, but applying that to cybersecurity. You know, our systems are vulnerable because they're old, right? People know how to get into these systems. They know how to hack the human. They know what the network looks like. Getting to these modern infrastructures, we now reduce the attack surface. We streamline and simplify the management and the efficiency of the enterprise and create an agile platform for you to deal with mission requirements today and with agility tomorrow, continue to deal with the changing requirements of the mission space. So I appreciate the few minutes that I've had with you this morning. I've just got the hook for Q&A. Is there any questions that I can answer for anybody? Yes, ma'am, all the way over there.
Hi, Erica McCann with the IT Alliance for Public Sector. Much like in the mid-90s when email was first introduced in government, there was a lot of apprehension and confusion from the government side, in particular on the auditing community, trying to figure out how do you audit this new thing that's not a file cabinet. What do you tell your government auditors now when you're talking about these public and private cloud options? There seems to be this similar apprehension and confusion.
Absolutely. So the question is, how do we deal with auditing, and also the flip side of auditing would be the compliance side when working in these types of hybrid cloud environments. What old is new again, right? So it's always about instrumenting your tools properly and then understanding that the cloud really is just another tool in the tool belt. I'm still auditing against the same information, the same IT, just in a different construct below the operating system. I can also manage process and control. And as Congressman Hurd said earlier, if anyone's ever visited a partner data center, right, the control sets that go into those data centers with the screening of people, their backgrounds, how the data centers are run, to run them in a lights out, hands off manner. I would encourage the government to look at a lot of the private sector certifications to help create agility in the compliance and audit sectors. You can leverage things like SAS 70, SSA 16 and 17, because there's a direct correlation into FISMA, FedRAMP, and all the other control sets that we all adhere to through NIST. So same strategy, just more efficient, more agile, and leverage the technology and the automation of the technology to make that more effective. Good question. Anybody else? Thank you. Thanks, Connie.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.